Okay, we are live. Welcome everyone to this one-shot API workshop slash live coding session. How are you, Ayush, today?
I'm doing good. What about you?
Good, good. I mean, I'm excited because we never did so many workshops during MetaMask Dev Cook-Off, right? And I think it's actually quite exciting that I think like there is much more support this time, and people really like have also like an ideal way to do things, and they can actually see from the company itself for all this great cost to actually how to build things. Any highlight before we're starting, like kind of sharing more context on the MetaMask Dev Cook-Off, on the last sessions that we did previously?
I mean, like the numbers are showing great as of now. I went through the MetaMask DevOps page, and like we have around 100 participants by today, and we also have like three valid submissions. One of them is like I feel like it's a dummy submission done by someone, but overall I feel like pretty excited to see like what people are building. We have like two submissions which I see like valid from like what I went about in the code base and stuff.
Right.
And the one thing I noticed was like people are using agents pretty good these days because they are using their open cloud agents to submit the hackathon projects, which I think is should be now the goal. And we'll
Yes,
also see
yes.
like how like Todd walks us through the same thing today in the one shot API
Nice.
workshop.
Did you see a big difference between like OpenClaw versus Hermes? I'm like my crypto Twitter feed is right now full of like comparison.
I'm yet to try out the hummus, but I think like you have like pretty good insights. Like I heard from the
Oh yeah.
last time as well on using the
Yeah,
hummus
definitely. Definitely, the shared
for the memory.
memory discussion is big. The shared memory discussion is big, kind of like the context-based, also like history is something big. But I think like there are two similar methods, right? But I think orchestrator is becoming really, really important. And yeah, let's see. I'm testing right now both harnesses, and yeah, yeah. I don't want to bias everyone here listening, but I really like how Hermes is handling memory, and I'm not re-explaining myself multiple times, but also like I'm not restarting the getaway multiple times. And trust me, this was happening a lot. Maybe now is definitely different, and I think also there are pro and cons, right? Integration wise, is something newer. Like OpenClaw has tons of like also native integration and connectors. Hermes is less, but I think they focus much more on the quality. Okay, without deviating the discussion, we could speak here a couple of hours. So what we will talk today, we're doing quick intro. We're explaining a bit for the people joining today what actually is the MetaMask Dev Cook-Off, when it started, what is happening, what are the prices, and then we are kind of like fine tuning each session to kind of like satisfy a specific journey. And this time we have both Todd and Charlie from One Shot API actually like giving us a quick live coding session on how to get started with One Shot API if the demo gods will be with us, hopefully. And I'm excited. I think in our last session, launching the Dev Cook-Off, like we kind of like showed a bit the getting started guide, but we didn't dive deep into it. And I think this time is quite excited. How these guys, Ayush, when you kind of like started to play with One Shot API? Why so exciting for delegation? Let's get started from this first.
I, I think like it was around the time I joined like the MetaMask and at that time like it was called Delegation Toolkit, right? It was not even the Smart Accounts Kit.
Mhm.
And we found a video of like One Shot API on X, or I think it was a YouTube, where they were showing like how to use it with the N10. And that's how we got in
I
touch
don't
with the
remember.
One Shot API team. And like it's been a really good journey of seeing them how deeply they have integrated the delegation toolkit, now smart accounts kit, into the product, and how easy it is for you to use it with the smart accounts kit if you want to build something. And I just love the team because it's a good journey of like being like a hacker to like one of the like co-sponsor for the hackathon.
Yes, 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 and they're super also like quick to kind of like give feedbacks and get reaction. I think that's super important in this space. Okay, let's give some colors on the DevCook side. There are different trackings pool. I don't know if you want to share your screen or you show on the HackWest side. We kind of like went through already, but for people joining, this is a 1 month long online hackathon called MetaMask Dev Cook-Off. We are trying to push this every month with different tech stack with different partners. But the cool thing is that this is run through like HackQuest, and we're able definitely like to kind of like satisfy different kind of like journeys. So you don't need to have fresh code. You can actually like start also like building something either from scratch or something like extending your functionality of what you're already building. And yeah, kind of like the sky is the limit. Oh, go for it. Thanks for sharing, Yushan.
Yeah, so if you have not registered yet, the first thing you can do is like register yourself for the hackathon. That's the first step, and it will also like show you the prompt to join the MetaMask Telegram group, which is our community where you can also ask questions, or if you have any doubts on the tracks that you want to build on, you can ask there. And then if you go to the price and judging, like what Francisco was showing, like we have different tracks, right? And you can apply for any of these tracks. You can apply for the multiple tracks if it satisfies the eligibility criteria. And the first track that we have is the best X42 and ERC 7710 and this is like something new that we added for the X42, a new transfer method of 7710 where you can use delegations to pay for the X42 calls. So if you are building on this track, it's pretty interesting and it's pretty experimental, and we would love to get your feedback on like what is your like developer experience, and great to see like what you build. Then we also have the best agent one, and I feel like I want to share the context like why like the the hackathon is focusing on the agents as well. It's not because it's trend, but it's because that smart accounts kit is one of those like toolkit or the tech stack available right now that helps you to add the guardrails to the agents, where your agent does not goes rogue and like do transactions. And so what we mean by that is like you can give specific permissions to the agents, and then your agent can only like work around those permissions and cannot exceed beyond those permissions. So you are providing kind of a guardrail to the agent to make sure that your agent does not like do a transfer of like 40,000 to someone when you're not even intended to do it, and always like works under the proper guardrail. And that's what this like the whole hackathon is focused on, like X2 and the agent stuff. And if you are building an agent that is using like 7710 delegations and permissions, this is a track for you. Then we also have like A2A coordination, right? And this is for agent to agent coordination. And one good thing about like the delegations or the permissions that we're talking about is that you can do permission hopping. That means that I can give a permission to agent A, and then agent A or the orchestrator, right? Like Francesco was talking about like how Hermes has like the good orchestrator and like why people are moving towards that way, right? So let's assume there's an orchestrator for the Web3 interactions, like for example, doing an yield, doing a swap, something like that. So you give like permission of like $20 to an orchestrator agent. Then that agent, orchestrator agent, can give those permissions or relay those permissions to like a swap agent or a yield agent. So it's basically creating a multi-hop level like kind of thing. And that's what like A2A coordination is. You don't need to transfer your funds to the agents, you just need to give the permissions, and funds will be always in your wallet, and they can basically pull based on the permissions that you have set. And that's what like this track focuses on. We want to see like how you can have an orchestrator or like A2A coordination between agents using permissions. And again, like we have like 3000 like first place, second place, and third place. You can go through the qualification requirements. And then we also have like one of our co-partner, which is like the Venice AI. So if you're using Venice AI in any of these tracks, right, you will be eligible on like this track as well. So it's like you can apply for multiple tracks, you just need to use the Venice AI for your agent harnesses. And then we have like the one shot, right? And we will be learning about today like how you can use one shot permission relayer, where you can like submit your transactions via their like relayer for like 7710. Apart from that, we also like, if you go into the non-tech kind of the price category, we have like the best social media presence where you can like tag us on like X and showcase your journey of like how you are using like MetaMask Smart Accounts Kit and how it has helped you to build the tech stack or your project. And then we also have like the best feedback, as we talked about, like X-Photo is quite experimental, and we want to get more feedbacks on like what developer experience we should improve in that. So if you have any feedbacks on any of the like the top 3 tracks that we have with the MetaMask, feel free to like give us feedback, and you might be eligible for the this track as well. Yeah, and that's for the pricing and judging. And if you want to learn more about all of this, like co partners and the MetaMask accounts kit, you can go into the resource sections and you will be finding the resources that you can use.
Yeah, I really like the resource section. Yeah, the people kind of like a play off or even getting like your agent to actually scrape them and, and check it out. And we have also, I think like we're also building some idea banks for like use case. We kind of went through also like in the launch live stream. Yes, what kind of like type of like use case we would like to see being built. But I think like, kind of like get yeah, kind of like imagination really like trying to build something that is useful and is kind of like deployable on production. And yeah, I think that's great. I think like yeah, thanks Ayush for like kind of like running us through this like kind of like the price pool verticals. Yeah, we put here a bit like again what is kind of like the list, and I think like yeah, let's get to kind of like the main part of like the workshop, and let's invite both Todd and Charlie on the live stream. We're really like having both Todd and Charlie for a couple of like those live stream already since the MetaMask Dev Cook-Off and the first kind of introduction with One-Shot API and delegation that are now called Smart Account Kit. But wait, welcome Todd and Charlie. Before we start, for the people new to the live stream, you want to quickly like introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning, guys. Good to see you again. My name's Todd. I'm one of the co-founders of One-Shot API, and I've been working with Charlie now on this for about a little over a year. Charlie, go ahead.
Hello. Hey, Yush, Francisco.
Yeah,
This is
pleasure.
I'm Charlie. This is been doing this for quite a while. I'm still in delegation framework mode. That's we were so early on in this project, like I still haven't accepted the whole smart accounts kit naming. But yeah, this is really excited to be back here with you guys. We're going to show off some cool stuff, I think.
Nice, nice. Yeah, at the end is all about Garlay's permissions, kind of like knowing exactly
Uh,
what your agents kind of is limited to. Oh, go for it, Charlie.
yeah. The amount of the space that this opens up, the delegation concept just really blows things open. And once people once people wrap their head around it, like the things that they're going to realize, it's like, oh, there's so much stuff that was like really hard to do, and it's like, no, we've this part is solved. You just need to kind of see it.
Agree,
So
agree. Exciting. Yeah, thanks so much for the intro. So what are we actually like speaking out today? Ship it, building a stablecoin power creator platform in one stream. So we get both Todd and Charlie sharing the screen. I think like Todd, you wanted to start with like the getting started guide. It's
Yeah.
exciting. Let me know if you want to share your screen and let's get it started.
Okay. So here's the idea. We wanted to try to build an actual like MVP of something in the time that we have on the stream today. And kind of the idea, it'd been actually an idea that I've been playing around with in my head for a while. Okay, here we go. Screen share going. And so anyway, the idea is basically a stablecoin backed version of like a Patreon site. That's what we're going to try to do. Patreon, people who don't know what Patreon is, creators can make an account on Patreon, right? And then you can create different subscription tiers so that people can like back you for doing your whatever it is that you do, $5, $10, $15 a month. And you know, prior to something like MetaMask smart accounts and EIP 7710, doing subscriptions in crypto was not a straightforward thing to do. and with 7710, it's like trivial. So I'm like, okay, well, a great way to highlight 7710 and something that's feasible to do in a short amount of time. Let's try to do this. Let's try to do this Patreon competitor that's in crypto. And I've started on this in a previous video that I did, and I called this little project Subscribalicious. Okay, so we're gonna try to finish out Subscribalicious, and I'm gonna try to do this tutorial, in a way that's followable for people of like any skill level. So even if you don't know how to code really at all, I think you should be able to follow us along in what we're going to do here. And I'm going to try to drop some hints that we've learned along the way to, things that you can remember or check to make whatever your on-chain app is that you're making, try to make it agent ready out of the box. And in fact, we've got this cool little tool here that we found that was released by Cloudflare that's called Is It Agent Ready? I recommend trying this tool out when you're building like a web application. So here's what we're going to try to build. All right, so this is tip number 1 for anybody watching. It's when you're trying to come up with an app idea or an agent idea, I really recommend starting with something like Google Stitch. So if you go to stitch.withgoogle.com, this is a 100% free tool. Doesn't cost you anything, but it lets you ideate UX, and it does a really nice job. It's almost exactly like Figma in terms of what it produces for you. And if you want to pay for it, you can connect it to Figma. I'm not going to pay for it. I'm just going to tell it what I want or what I'm trying to build. And this was the design that I kind of ended up on for Subscribalicious. And let's just kind of look at it together, because this is what we're going to give our coding agent and try to ask it to, hit this target. And so here's our landing page. Here's our Subscribalicious landing page. So somebody would land here, and you have a few different call to action buttons on it. There's a button here, and we're not necessarily going to stick to this exactly when we start coding it up, but maybe we have a button here that if I'm a new creator, I could hit this button and it lets me set up my creator profile, where from the creator profile, I can see maybe how much money I've earned in stablecoin over some amount of time. I can see my active subscriptions. And remember, at the end of the day, the subscriptions, those are literally going to be EIP 7710 delegation permission contexts that the app is going to store in its database. So how many active subscribers, maybe the pending that's going to get sent to me on chain in the next period. Maybe we can have some kind of a chart, something like that. And over here, this is kind of what we think it's going to look like. So not the creator itself, but maybe a person that wants to go back their favorite creator or artist. They'll find them, and they can see a little bit of the description about that person. How many followers do they have? The different subscription tiers that the user or that the creator has. You choose one, you get this screen. Are you sure? When you hit approve and subscribe, you're gonna get the MetaMask pop up asking you to approve the delegation. So this is kind of our target of what we're trying to hit. And again, this is the first tip when you're building apps nowadays. There's no reason not to start from mock-ups, because you don't have to have the training, the probably months of training it took to get proficient in something like Adobe or Figma
or
to get a good looking mock-up. And that mock-up's really, when you turn around and give it then to your coding agent, it's gonna reduce your token usage a lot. Number one, because you're not going to be changing what it is that you're trying to do because you've already got an idea of what you want your app to look like, and hence the features that are going to be in your app. Number one. Number two, it basically tells the coding agent, it gives it a target to hit. It's not trying to guess and think as much. It'll be able to do this much faster and with much less token spend. So this is what we want to hit. This is our target. Where does one shot come into play, right? Well, it's obvious where MetaMask is going to come in here. You're going to hit approve on this interface. It's going to trigger MetaMask, and I'm going to sign, a USDC, USDC subscription. That's what I'm going to be signing. One shot, where does it come into play? So one shot is for those watching and weren't on our last live stream, one shot is a intent execution infrastructure platform. And the first thing that we launched really was not our EIP 7710 relayer. The first thing we launched was a permissionless relayer for OKX wallet. We're actually powering their gas station in the OKX mobile and browser wallet. But then we realized this permissionless relayer that we built for OKX for their smart wallet was like perfect for MetaMask's smart account standard. And that's what it primarily focuses on now. And the life cycle of using it is unique. You don't have to sign up for anything. Okay, so you don't have to sign in, create a business account, add team members. There's no pre-funding paymasters. Okay, it's not 4337 base. It's pure EIP 7710. You only pay when a transaction is confirmed, and we handle all of the gas, rebalancing. We handle all that, so you don't have to worry about pre-funding or creating a business account. So once you've authorized an EVM account, to be upgraded to MetaMask's smart account standard, which is handled by the smart accounts kit, and you get a delegation from it, an agent or an app can just hit one shot with the permission context and the transaction that you want to run, the encoded transaction that you want to run, as long as that encoded transaction jives with the delegation that you give us, and we'll execute it. You pay us in stable coins, so the user does not have to have gas token. You don't need ETH. You don't need BNB, whatever chain you're on. And then furthermore, the stable coin that you're going to use to pay for the gas, it doesn't even have to be on the same chain where you're trying to do the execution of like your target transaction. So if I'm trying to like process a subscription on Ethereum, or run some sort of a trade on Ethereum, but my stable coin is actually USDC on Base because maybe I onboarded for 0 fees on Base, well, I can pay with the USDC on Base and run my trade on Ethereum. It handles all of that. And all you got to do is hit the permissionless API with your MetaMask smart account kit, permission context, and the encoded functions that you want to run. So back over here, if you go to the quick start page, I suggest the first place to get started is by installing the skill. And we've done this. I'm going to be coding this up. I'm going to be coding this up in Replit. So I'm going to be using Replit for this getting started here. The reason I'm using Replit, it's great for doing MVPs. So for those watching that are not familiar with Replit, or maybe not hardcore coders, Replit's great because it, number one, it has a coding agent built into it, and two, it also handles the hosting for you. So I've started with the splash page for Subscribalicious. You can see here, and it's actually already hosted. So if I go to subscribalicious.xyz, which is the URL that I bought for this project, it's reachable already. So it's all It's all done for me inside of Replit. So if people are still thinking, well, I haven't started my project for the hackathon yet, you can do it all in Replit if you want to. So I'm using Replit.
You can use Cloud Code. You can use all sorts of other things. Replit's nice for like hackathons in particular because it just lets you skip some steps. You know, it's definitely more expensive than some of your other options, but for this kind of stuff, where you know some speed counts, hot tip. You know, let's.
Yeah.
Super
So here's
useful.
what we're gonna do. We're gonna in our Subscribalicious app, it's gonna have to do a few things periodically. The first thing is that it's going to have to discover at least once. It's going to have to discover our capabilities. So what I mean by capabilities is what stable coins do we support on which networks? So for instance, let's take Ethereum here. I've got this selector box here, and it gives me a curl command. This is in the getting started or quick starts for the gas abstraction here. Gives me a curl command. So it's going to need to at least once check what stable coins are supported for the gas abstraction. So if I paste that curl command here and run it, it's saying that for Ethereum, you can pay for transactions in USDC, USDT, Global Dollar, and MetaMask MUSD. And if I were to do a different network, let's say, like for instance,
Linnea, I don't know what's the code for Linnea.
I remember the Linnea chain ID. There we go. So let's do Linnea. Paste that. So Linnea supports USDC, USDT, and MUSD, right? So when we fire up our application, it needs to look up these stable coins, say which stable coins are supported, the address for those tokens on that network, and the number of decimals that token has. So it's actually important when you're doing this stuff, when you're doing business with stable coins, don't just assume that, hey, like, well, USDC uses 6 decimal places, so like probably this other stable coin does too. There are plenty of instances where the stablecoin uses 18 decimal places. So rather than you having to look that up, we return that for you automatically in this step 1, which is the get fee or get capabilities endpoint.
Yeah, like for instance, BSC, USDC, and Tether on Binance both have 18 decimals for whatever reason, which is just it's kind of out there to get you. One thing to mention quick about these coins, this is not limiting what you can do with your delegation or with the relayer. This is only for purposes of payment. So like with the product, with the relayer that we're showing here, you know, all these supported coins, you can mix, literally you can mix and match across chains in order to do a payment. But that's what these guys are relevant for. The fact that most people are just usually sending stable coins along with paying for it is a coincidence. But you can actually send any transaction you want along with it. So, you know, for the purposes of Subscribalicious, we're going to be sending payments in stablecoin to your creators, but you could be interacting with dexes, you could be doing perps, you could be doing whatever you want with this system.
Right. Okay. And then the other thing to call out here with step 1, which is getting the relayer capabilities, it returns not only these tokens that are supported for gas payment methods on that chain, but there's 2 other things here that we should call out. The first one is the fee collector address. So this is where you have to send your gas payment to, is that address on, that network. And then the second one is this target address, which maybe we should have called the delegate address, but this target address is where you need to redelegate your permission context. You have to redelegate it to this address so that we can run the transaction for you.
Yeah. The 7710, what we're going to be doing is creating and signing a delegation via 7715 in MetaMask. But that delegation is always to a particular address. And so that is the address that has the permissions. Now that address, once you've delegated, delegations are cool. They can create a chain. And so you can actually redelegate and make a smaller set of permissions out of it. But basically you're just passing the buck down. So the target address is where you're going to send the permissions that we're going to create. You're going to create that delegation. It's going to be aimed at our target address. Then we're going to send it, we're going to redelegate it internally and send it to a pool address and stuff like that so that we can actually run it.
But so here's what's going to happen here is your users of whatever your app is or agent is, your users are going to give the first delegation probably to your service. Like step one is delegate to your service. This is the most likely, delegation chain architecture. They'll delegate to you.
Or your agent.
Then you being your business will, when it's ready to, either, they'll delegate immediately to us, or it can, put that off to later. But you're going to redelegate to the one-shot target address, and then internally inside of one-shot, just so people know what it's doing, we have a pool of hot wallets that are gassed up and ready to run transactions. As soon as you hit us with your delegation, we internally take that and do another redelegation to the actual hot wallet with the gas funds, and then execute it. So these are the one-shot hot addresses, so that we can, parallel process however many transactions we get at a time. So we're going to do this. We're going to do relayer get capabilities. This is detailed in the skill that's up here that we've installed into our environment. Then we are going to get, we're going to get the fee. So like, how much does it cost right now? Basically checking the gas price. So to show you what that looks like right now, right now I'm selected base, generates a curl command for me. And what this returns is some price info. So it's telling me, look, on base for the token that you asked for, right, USDC, well, the gas token, which is ETH on base, right now the price is coming back is 21.18, so $2,118 in USDC. There's a min fee. So this is important to keep in mind for one shot. We charge always at least a minimum fee amount. So if you're on, for instance, base, and you send us a transaction to run, if it's less than 1 cent, we're going to round it up to 1 cent. So the way to take advantage of that is to try to batch something in it on these cheaper chains so that you get more bang for your buck. If you're on a more expensive chain like Arbitrum or Ethereum, Arbitrum typically is substantially more costly than base in our experience. What you're going to do is you're going to take the gas price, and then on your side, you're going to use either the Smart Account Kit or VM to estimate how much gas will be used by your function call, multiply it by the gas price, and that's what you need to, and then to use this rate, which is the price of USDC, right, in the gas token, or the stablecoin in the gas token. Use those three quantities to come up with how much you need to pay us in the stablecoin. And then there's this thing down here, context. This is a price lock. So if your agent or whatever wants to lock in whatever gas we've reported to you, you take this context, which has a signature in it, and when you hit us back with the relay command, you give us literally exactly back this context, and we will honor whatever the price was that we quoted you for up to, I think it's 45 seconds. And that's the two important first things to start here. So, right, getting getting what stable coins are allowed, and then getting the gas price, and then down here, actually getting the delegation itself. So let's jump in. I think we've gone through a lot of this stuff. So let's do this. Let's take our design and let's give it to Replit. Let's do this. I'm gonna select these. How are we doing on time, guys? Like how much time do we have left to work here?
I would say, yeah, we can go maximum like 20 minutes. 20
All
minutes.
right.
20, 30 minutes. Yeah.
We'll try it here then. So let's export. So in Google Stitch, if you're using Google Stitch, if you're trying to follow along with the recording, let's take those and let's export them. And we're going to export to zip. All right. If we look what that gave us. There we go. I think what I'm going to do is I want to split this up so that Replit can see each one individually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this screen first. Let's copy this. Click off of this. Click this one. And let's export individual screen. Let's do zip file. Export. Let's put these other two in the trash. All right. So here's what it gave me when I exported that view of the creator dashboard. So it gave me this screen and it gave me some HTML for it. So I'm going to give that HTML now to Replit. So if you haven't made a Replit account, create a Replit account, log in, start a new project, and I'm going to come over here to the file tree and let's try to upload. Try to upload a new file. I'm going to rename this. Let's rename it to Creator Dashboard. Creator Dashboard. And let's put that in here. We're going to put it at the root of the project so it doesn't interfere with any of the source code, because I don't actually want it in the source code. I just want it to be able to reference it. All right, so there's the creator dashboard. And let's get the other view. Let's get this view right here. Export it again as a zip. You can see there's my subscribe page. So then let's rename this one to subscribe page, like that. And let's put that into our root of our project. Okay, so now let's wire up the connect button. So first of all, if you're just now using Replit and like you kind of just fired it up, let me just show you how to install the agent skill. So if you open up a shell here, and from the quick start page, you got npx skill add blah blah blah. Take that and on the shell, paste in npx skills add one-shot API skills public relayer. I've already got it, but it won't hurt it to just redo it. That'll put a subfolder .agents skills public relayer. that has both tips on, it has tips on talking to the relayer, hitting the different methods, and then also using MetaMask smart account kits. So let's first come back over here and we'll say, you'll say, okay, so for the connect button in the header, I want this to connect.
Just a question thought, like, is it the advanced permissions one, or you'll be creating a, like,
Say that again for me, Ayush.
is it using the advanced permissions for this?
We will use the advanced permissions for this, yes.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna be using the advanced permissions for this. And what it's gonna look like while that's running, I've got this demo page over here that is in our GitHub org profile. It's a little 7715 permissions test bed. So we're hooking up the 7715 advanced permissions, which is not the same thing if you've coded up dApps for using MetaMask before and you make RPC calls to the extension. Well, there's an advanced permissions API defined by ERC 7715 permissions where I can do things like great, now I got to put in my password. Like this, where it's saying, okay, advanced permission, like who is requesting it? Like, look what it asks. It asks the amount, not only an amount. So like that's kind of like an approve, which is like old school stuff. But this is not only an amount, but how often. So I can come in here and say, well, like whatever, $1 weekly or $1 whatever monthly. So then it literally cannot pull that asset out of my wallet faster than whatever the frequency is that I set. And I can set an expiration time on it too. So that's what Ayush is talking about by the advanced permissions. And when you grant it, you hit sign, it looks something like this. This is what it's spitting out, and this is what we're going to store. Let's see what it did over here. It made the noise, and it says connect button. I'll say build. I think I was in plan mode. Okay, so let's let it plan. So here's what we got to do. It's busy hooking up the connect button right now. We need to connect this launch vault. I don't like that it's called vault, but don't get caught up on the fact that it's called vault. We want to launch our creator account. We want that one. And then we want some kind of like a basic search where I can search through the creators that are on the platform, see their different subscription tiers, pick one, sign the delegation, and store it. Right? That's basically what we got to do. And when I launch the vault, it should prompt me to create, like at least put in my name and a little bit of description about me, and then set how much I want my tiers to be. That's pretty much all we got to implement. And hopefully we can do that for less than $20 on Replit. Okay, so it just I like to follow along on its chain of thought. So people listening and maybe are new to this agentic coding, these are kind of, you'll hear these referred to as traces or chain of thought. This is kind of, you can follow along what the coding agent is attempting to do while it's attempting to carry out the task you gave it. So we actually don't have that many things to do, right? Right now it's wiring up the connect button. And the reason I told it to focus on the connect button first is so that we can get the MetaMask Smart Accounts Kit installed, which I actually bring up in the quick start here. So we need MetaMask Smart Account Kits, and hopefully it's also installing VM. I don't think I have VM called out explicitly on this page, but I've got VM called out in the skill. Here we go. So it found, look what it found. It found ERC 7715 provider actions. That's your advanced permissions interface on MetaMask. And if we run out of time here, if this gets too long, because we're like vibe coding in real life, kind of like GeoHots does on his live coding sessions, his go for like 8 hours. If it starts going too long, I will definitely do a companion video to this solo and put that up so people can see the full process if we don't make it on this stream. But I wanted to make sure that we did kind of a long preamble on this because we wanted to make sure we got a lot of information out there for people in the hackathon, for best ways to use one shot in your submissions.
This is great. Todd, we have also one question in the meantime while we wait.
Yes.
When combining 7710 and X402 payments, what's the recommended pattern for recurrent autonomous payments without repeatedly prompting the user for new signatures?
We've got the perfect answer for that one.
Do we want to answer a bit later when people kind of, maybe if you want to?
Maybe we can answer that one later, or maybe we can even post that one on X for everybody.
Oh, this is a good one. Yeah.
That might be a good idea to post that one on X, so then everybody can see it.
Cool.
Meanwhile,
Okay.
we are also doing a live stream this Thursday on the X402 and 7710. So if you have any other questions, you can also join that live stream to know how you can build something with the X402 and Smart Accounts Kit.
100%. Yeah, if there are any payments and stables kind of involved, I think, integrating X402 is a no-brainer.
So once we get the connect button wired up, this is the only step that should require like installing third-party packages into our project. So this hopefully is the longest agentic step for us for coding this up. And so when it's done, we're going to tell it next to, I think we'll tell it to go ahead and to make the creator page or the creator dashboard next. So when I hit launch vault, basically we'll hook up this button next. We'll say with launch vault should take me to it. And we won't spend too much time making it like bulletproof on everything. We'll kind of play it fast and loose for this MVP. But this will launch a page where I can put in my name and a description and my pricing tiers. That'll store that in the application database. Then we'll move to the feed, I guess, where I can scroll through the different artists or creators that are in the application, click on the desired subscription, and submit the delegation. And so what I'll do is I will give it this, when it's done thinking about its current task, I'm going to give it this example of a decoded permission, so it has reference of what to store in the database. So while we're waiting for the agent to write all this code, some other thoughts for people working on on their submissions, ones that are maybe working on specifically agents rather than DApps. I think a great thing to remember for, EIP 7710 and the 7715 advanced permissions, compared to other projects in the space that have like dedicated agentic wallets, right? Where you got to do a command line provision for a private key for your agent, and then you got to put funds into the agent. Once you've got that permission delegation, like once you've got this thing here, like this basically plus a prompt around what this permission allows you to do is an agent wallet. So basically, if you give this plus some prompting around it to an agent, like that is your agent wallet. So if you hand that over as a prompt and then point it at one shot, you've got a fully permissionless agentic wallet that's 100% non-custodial.
Question, Todd. Did you give a context at the beginning, like smart account kit docs, one-shot API docs, at the beginning of the planning?
Yeah. So what I did at the beginning was we installed this public relayer skills that is at the top of the gas abstraction quick start. We installed this, and this has examples and best practices for smart account kits and using the relayer endpoints. So I think it's actually decided to go into deeper depth than I wanted it to for the first round. I just wanted it to hook up the connect button. But this is the thing. This is the thing with live coding with these with these coding agents. I think it decided it was going to go further than what I asked it to do. So we'll have to see what it we'll have to see what it does when it finishes with its first round of implementation. I think it's done a lot more than just wire up the connect button. I know we only have about 5 to 10 minutes left for the nominal length of this, so we're probably not going to finish the full MVP. But I will, if we don't, I will post part 2 to this afterwards.
Part 2 of the live stream.
Yes.
Let agent start from where it left.
But I think this is super useful because this is exactly the journey that everyone kind of like is taking while either hacking or vibe coding something during the MetaMask Dev Cook-Off.
This is literally what it's
this
going
is
to be like.
this is the hackathon experience condensed. Yeah, so we
2020,
might have
2026.
overestimated a little bit of how much we could get done in the time allowed, especially with the explanations. But I think this will be super helpful for people no matter what.
Maybe during this kind of like agentic DevX experience, what are kind of like the problems or the issue that you see people encountering in terms of kind of like preview or problems?
Probably where I think most people are going to get caught up. Maybe not the first thing that they're going to get caught up on, but probably a place where they're going to get caught up on is constructing the delegation for whatever it is that you're trying. Like if you're trying to set up a delegation to do like a Uniswap swap, okay, and you're brand new to like the caveats and the caveat construction, I can see people getting caught up there 100%. And I would say jump into the Telegram channels, either our Telegram channels because we're experienced with it, or obviously MetaMask with Ayush, and ask them. But constructing advanced caveats can probably be tricky if it's your first time.
Honestly, the caveats, depending on how you're doing things, the caveats, they're super powerful, but they're also like your biggest source of risk. Like we've identified, a couple of different, unintentional security things that you can get yourself into. Like if you're doing, especially if you're trying to do a more advanced delegation, right? There's certain things you can do. It's like, oh, well, I left off. It's mainly by omission. Like you very easily construct a delegation that is very, very wide open. And that delegation is, could be bad things could happen with that delegation if you construct it as too wide open. Other people could do weird things with it. So that's an issue. And then you're trying to put, all the different things. Like I'm not sure what Uniswap the end result is going to be. So it's like maybe it's like, well, I want this caveat in my delegation, but I'm not sure what the value can be. So the more advanced use cases with that are definitely tricky. As the framework gets more widely adopted, we'll definitely be publishing and have more advice on the best constructions for some of those things. But those are ones that we've definitely run face first into.
I think it's also about like, I feel like the caveats are like Lego blocks, right? Like you can use it as per your choice because there are multiple ways to like use it and achieve the same thing. It can be either direct transfer or the balance change enforcers. So it's also like in the tricky spot, like which caveats to use per case, because there can be like multiple caveats that can give the same result. So also to understand like how the before and after state affects the caveats, the other caveats that you're using is also important. So I think like if you are like ever stuck, I would suggest like just give the the docs.llm.txt to your agent, because
Yep.
we have tried to like add a lot of stuff there on all of the caveats, and I think like it should be able to figure out like which ones to use. And
Yep.
as always, if you're using agent to do any kind of this thing, please make sure to review it.
Yeah.
The just following up more on the caveats, the other gotcha that we've run into, if you're just using 7710 and MetaMask's stateless delegator bare, like if you're not going through one shot, not all the caveats are compatible with batch mode. So when you're doing a redeem delegations call, and a lot of times it will fail because a lot of the caveats do only work in single mode, like some of the common ones, like ERC20 transfer limit. So if you try to do a batch of that, then the transaction will fail. And that one, man, I don't know how many hours we ended up having to go into the source code into the smart contracts and figure that one out. So stick with single mode if you can. It's a little less gas efficient, but basically all the caveats work in that mode.
I think we need a 7710 like 101 to make, because like we are throwing the words that I feel like might go above, like the different execution modes on the 7710 that you can use.
Yeah, one of the things that
go ahead, Todd.
If we end up having the time to, I mean, we're not going to get this out for the hackathon probably, but we've got this feature that we're still experimenting with called one-shot prompts, which is a library of all it's intended to be a library of all verified smart contracts that you could possibly want to interact with instructions for how to use, like, why would I want to use the smart contract and its functions, and how do I use the functions? So for instance, like look at this guy. So Uniswap v3 pool USDC WETH, right? So it's got the functions that you'd want to call. In this case, they're all read functions, but it tells you what they return, what you need to input, why would I call this? And these are all prompts that are available through a web MCP tool as well as a regular MCP tool. So you connect, and I'm not doing this with this particular, with our experiment over here, but the idea with this tool that we were going with was for one-shot prompts. If I'm coding something up with delegations, I could also give it as tools the one-shot prompts MCP, and I don't have to remember, what are the Uniswap addresses or what are the like Aave addresses. I could just say, look, I want to use Aave to do whatever. I want to use Aave to do lending. And the agent itself would search for the contracts in the one-shot prompts tool, and the one-shot prompts tool would tell it, these are the functions that are on it, these are the inputs and the outputs, all annotated, so we could figure out how to use them on their own. And I think that would ultimately be very complementary, right, to the delegation toolkit.
I think once the agent has like information on like what all functions are there and what input it takes, I think like giving SQL files would be making it more easier for them to figure out like which caveats to use and how to properly use or restrict the delegations.
Okay, so if we look over here, the coding agent decided to YOLO and just one-shot the whole app in a single prompt. And so it coded up. It coded up to connect. It can connect to MetaMask now. It also implemented apparently the functions necessary to talk to the relayer, because it started reading the skill. If you look at these chain of thought traces, it read the skill. I was like, wow, I need to do this stuff to talk to the relayer. So it implemented functions to talk to the relayer. And now I have it working on the cron job logics that's going to run once a month. It's building the it's building the logic for actually once a month firing up, running through all the delegations, and submitting them to One Shot. And it's asking me here, hey, do you also want me to send payment confirmation and failure emails to users? And I might say, yeah, screw it, go ahead and do that, so that it's working on both of them. And that might take a while, but one proposal is, depending on how much longer we want the stream to go, I don't know how long this will take, because it's a halting problem. We don't know how long it'll take for the coding agent to finish these tasks. If we need to end, guys, early, what I will do is whenever it finishes, I will record the output and demo it, and I'll post the video to X and tag MetaMask dev in the final video with the output from this. But basically, TLDR is that I think it almost one-shotted the app with the one prompt and the skills. Like, it kind of already knew, because I'd made this site for a previous video. I'd made the splash page. It kind of already knew what it needed to do. So when I told it, hook up the connect button and look at the skill, I think it pretty much did most of the logic for the application.
Nice. That's what happens when you are using agents. You never know, they are full of surprises.
Yeah. Sometimes my blocker is on at the end, everything is built. I need to verify. I want to verify the delegation worked. I want to verify. So I think like we should actually have a verification step on top of this, right? But I guess like let's start first with the build. Okay, I think how we are doing with time. I think everyone here has an hard stop.
Yep.
We are at 6:30 our time, so it's been about 45 minutes.
I'm fine to do another like 10 minutes, huh? If you guys want.
Yeah, I think we should, let's see, like, if agent is able to do it another 10 minutes.
I'll stop the screen share for right now while that's chugging along.
Can you prompt like make it faster? You have no guardrails.
No mistakes. Yeah.
It's amazing how powerful that make no mistakes is.
It goes
You
into
gotta
the
wonder if that's
continuous
been
loop of,
hard
like,
coded into the models at this point in time, or into the runners.
Even if you're asking like, please verify, make no mistake and please verify, there is a full verification method afterwards that is happening. So that's actually also very powerful. In the meantime,
on like verifying every time.
Yes. Do we want to respond to this in the meantime? Then we can also like send over some tweets afterwards. I think on the recurring autonomous payments without repeatedly prompting the user for new signatures.
Yeah, I can take it if like Todd, do you want to go, or I can also take it?
Okay, I have one answer, but your answer is probably going to be a little bit different. So first of all, there's two different standards that you can use to pay for stuff with X402, right? There's MetaMask's 7710, where you're going to submit a permission context with the transfer of the token. So there's that version of X402. Then there's legacy vanilla X402, right, which uses EIP 3009 authorizations, which is totally different. One pattern that we implemented in One Shot Pay, our stablecoin wallet, is that basically you can give your agent its own Ethereum key, right? And then from your main account, like your user account, you can make a delegation to the agent that says, okay, well, the agent can use up to $5 a minute or $5 every half an hour, so that you can move funds at a sufficient rate out of the human's account into the agent's account using a delegation. That would be step one. And then when it wants to pay for a resource where it doesn't necessarily support yet MetaMask's 7710 X402 standard, but it supports the old 3009 standard. Basically, you use delegations to move the funds out of the human's wallet into the agent's wallet. And then the agent, once it's in its wallet, can create a 3009 authorization to pay for existing X402 resources that are only on the old standard. And I've got a video that goes over this on our YouTube channel, what that looks like. But that's one way to approach it. So you're not always asking for signatures. You get a one-time delegation so that the agent can move funds out of the user's wallet into the agent's wallet. Then the agent signs authorizations without the human being online.
Nice. I think like my app is somewhat similar of like using the advanced permission 7715, and you give those permissions to your like basically agent wallet. And once you have given those permissions to agent wallet, agent can use that permission and create another redelegation, right? So it's basically like every time it needs to pay to a server, right, or any services, it will create a redelegation using the main permissions that you have given from the MetaMask wallet, and it will pay for it. And we have a guide as well on like how you can do that, like using subscription kind of thing, where you say the agent that okay, agent can use like 10 USDC per weekly or like per day, and then you can use those permissions to pay as many times apart, like around the limits. Like it can pay up to like $10 of, it can buy $10 of services using S42 payments. And if you go to the guide, you will see like how you can create the 77 permissions and how you can redelegate those permissions from agent to the server wallet. And we also have like MetaMask facilitator, which can help you basically like settle those kind of 7710 payments. As of now, there is no facilitator out there that supports that 7710 as a transfer method. And I think like Todd already covered, like if you don't want to use 7710, there are like other ways to do that as well. And which was like 3009. And the other one is like up to method as well, but it does not use 7710. If you don't want to like kind of give like repeated confirmations, you can also use the up to scheme and do the token approvals. But again, like I would not suggest like to go in the path of token approvals kind of thing, because we already know like how exploits are difficult to handle with token approvals.
Cool. Yeah, that's quite sensible on the token approval side. How are we doing, Todd, with the agent?
Can you see
Is
my?
it no mistake, Moose?
Can you
No, let me share. Oh no, let me share now. Back.
Okay, here we go. So
Yes.
all right, so I can connect the wallet, and let's disconnect real quick. Disconnect it. Refresh the page. All right, so now I can connect MetaMask. It clearly did not implement any of these other things, so it's unclear what all it was working on earlier. I think it was doing a lot of builds and testing various things. So I'm not really sure what it was hooking up earlier, but we've got obviously we've got it to where it can connect to the wallet. So it's got MetaMask Smart Accounts Kit installed in the project, number one. And I think it also has VM installed. So basically the next step for us would be the two paths that I talked about. The first is going to be the user journey after I click launch Vault. And then the user journey for like the feed of the different creators. So we might be running out of time to be able to do that. I'll leave it up, it's your decision, Francisco. If we want to cut it here, it might be a good place to start, and then I can post part 2 after. Or we can keep going. I'm fine either way.
What do you prefer, Ayush? That's your like live coding session kind of style. I mean, I definitely want to see this like finished, right? But also like I feel like it will never happen in 15 minutes because we still have two parts to deal
Probably
with,
not
Yeah.
going to
right?
be a minute. It's probably going to be a 30-ish plus minute because we're going to have to fiddle with it.
Let me check. I'm fine. I can quickly postpone the collab right now, and we can just come. Do you have an art stop, Ayush?
No, I
We
don't have
just
hard stuff. I'm excited to see the prompt
okay. Then we
engineering.
can. Yeah, we can. Let's stay. If you are fine with it. So I think like, and feel free to also comment in the chat if you're actually eager to see this, and we should continue. I think this is not just a live coding session. It's definitely we're spearheading a new DApp here, leveraging both one shot and the smart account kit. So it's actually super interesting. This.
Unfortunately, watching the agent work can be a lot like watching paint dry sometimes. But this is the user journey. This is what you're gonna expect. This is what you're gonna do.
In
You're
the
knocking one of
meantime,
these
we have
out.
also a good question here from Conduit Ayush. Like an example of building 772 auth into the redeeming delegation called via the permissionless relayer.
I think Todd can answer this. They do have like support for that. Like you can upgrade your EOA to smart account into a single call. I think Todd can answer like how you can do that.
Yeah, you can provide a 7702 authorization. So you can give us an authorization, and again, this is in the skill. Like you don't have to figure out how to do it yourself. You can give us an authorization and the delegation and the transactions you want to run, and we will make sure that it gets upgraded and executed in the same API call.
Yeah, the 7702 auth, under the hood, technically that's all part of the same transaction. So we're going to execute all, the whole stack of things is all part of a single transaction that's going to run through. So, you give us the auth, we accept the auth, it will run. Auth, when 77.2 happens, the auth happens first, it gets verified, and then everything else in your transaction runs. So then it's actually going to execute the, your payload. But we definitely support that. There's examples of that. It's part of the skill. It is in our docs. You can see how that happens. Just a couple of notes. You can re-upgrade. If you include the authorization again, like on the next transaction, like the account will have already been upgraded. Like that's sticky. Yeah. So once you've only need to do a 7702 authorization once for people who haven't done this a whole a bajillion times. And then the account it's done. But if you include the auth again, it really doesn't do much except cost a little extra gas because it's going to revalidate the authorization, but then doesn't have to do anything. So you're not going to screw anything up like if you accidentally resend an auth. Just handy to know you're not going to shoot yourself in the foot that way. But you generally only want to include the auth the first time. Like, so, if you have your user and you don't know if they're have the right smart account, set it up there, set a flag on your side, and then don't send it to us because it'll just save you gas.
It's super awesome for embedded wallets. Like this is actually one of the things I'm most bullish on for 7710. Like I really am a freaking huge fan of 7710 because it's basically the end game for embedded wallets. If you got an embedded wallet and you upgrade it to a 7710 smart account, you can basically just do 100% non-custodial Coinbase, like with just that. Anything you could possibly want to do when the user is offline, you can get a caveat for it. the user logs in with a passkey as if it was a normal Web 2 site, but then you can safely run transactions on their behalf when they're not online, and they don't even have to connect or install a browser extension at the end of the day. So it'll be I'm hoping some people do some experiments with their submissions with embedded wallets as well. It's time to bust out the Zen for this. We're getting close. So this next step actually ought to be pretty easy for it. It's updating the database schema to store the creator's avatar picture, username, and a description, and then there are 3 subscription tiers, which is pretty simple. So it ought to be able to knock that out in one go. And I'm not, just to keep it simple, so for people that are watching, like, what this is going to put out is not going to be something that I could, I mean, maybe I could, but it's not something I could, like, go out and try to make viral as it is, because I'm not going to implement sign-in with Ethereum or anything on this. Like, I'm not going to put any auth on it, just to keep it simple. But really what I should do is, like, once I connect my wallet and I say launch vault, I should implement sign in with Ethereum or sign in with something, so that the profile that I'm creating, the creator profile, like, I should be authenticated, against it, right? But I'm not going to do that for right now, to keep it simple.
I think there should be there are this vibe trading kind of competition. There should be a vibe coding competition where they need to build a dApp, and let's see how efficient people are prompting, and how good the output is. I think pretty fun to see on the live stream, seeing all the memory dump as well, what steps the agents are taking.
Yeah, like prompt golf.
Just want to do that on
That's
the
gotta be
interesting.
There's all been the articles recently, about people, companies making you do token maxing, and people actually, writing inefficient stuff so that their token stats go up, right? But feel like the other way would be a lot more useful. Like, how can you use the minimum to get your job done?
I definitely see that with Harness and Orchestrator, like the token used for OpenClaw versus Hermes right now. But yeah, I mean, depends also on the output and the quality that you're actually trying to achieve here, right? You definitely don't want to come up with some kind of dApp slop or something.
Okay, so it finished that. Let's republish it and see what it did. Republish. And so here's a tip for people using Replit. I really am actually a fan of Replit, but it is not cheap in comparison to maybe using Cursor and then putting it on a Cloudflare worker, which is totally free, minus the tokens from Cursor. You see here this type. So I'm running this on 1 vCPU with 0.5 gig of RAM, right? So that's not the default. The default is much higher. So if you're doing this and you're subscribed to the $20 a month plan, and you don't change that default to something sane, you might blow through your $20 budget faster than you intended.
Yeah.
So I should probably bump this up a little bit. It's probably fine, but I could at least get another gig of, a gig of RAM rather than 0.5 gig of RAM for this, since it's actually going to be running cron jobs. I put it on the lowest setting possible because it was originally just hosting a splash page.
With the load though, unless Subscribalicious takes off, I think you're probably fine, Todd.
I feel like it could be a real business. So like I think there should be. I'd like to hear from the audience. I really think that there should be a stablecoin Patreon, like rather than getting paid out on PayPal or whatever. You should be able to get paid out in MUSD.
Yeah,
one of the nice things about it, if we want to go all like cypherpunk, right, on all this whole thing, the cool thing about the model of a Subscribalicious platform is it can't be shut down. You could actually have a decentralized, like a Mastodon style system, as a patron, which is, of course, it's just a wallet, right? But basically you have something that just collects delegations from people. If I'm running this, I am, I cannot be shut down. I can't be demonetized in any way, shape, or form. If people give me a delegation, now I have a subscription that is, I can charge that subscription whenever I need to. But the platform, whether the platform likes me or not, is immaterial. So
check this out. So first of all, it's still referencing one-shot pay, because when I was really originally doing this, I was doing this as one-shot pay, because this is before MetaMask launched the 7715 advanced permission, so I didn't have that as an option. So it's still referencing one-shot pay here, even though it should say MetaMask. That's a detail though. Now if I click Launch Vault, I can put a photo. So I'll just put a picture. I got this picture right here, so I'll put USDC as my logo. Display name, I'll put Todd. And for my username, I'll put Todd. And for about my work, creating 7710 agents. Okay, let's do continue. Let's see what it has next. So look, check this out. This is actually pretty cool. Here's my 3 tiers that I get to pick. So it has defaults for the names, which I can customize. That's pretty neat. So tier 1 is called supporters. Tier 2 is patron. Tier 3 is inner circle. And so it's got 5, 15, and $30. I'm going to make these smaller just because I'm going to actually pay with some money here in a little bit. I'm going to do $1, $2, and $3 because, I have pretty low, personal expenses. And look at this. It also put in, what does the subscriber get? That's kind of nice. So it says, well, what do you get with the $1? Exclusive updates, $2, full content library, whatever you want to put in there. So that's kind of nice. I'll say continue. Here's my preview. That looks pretty nice. Again, this should say MetaMask rather than one-shot pay. I'm going to say launch my vault. And let's see. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see what it goes to dashboard. It's kind of fun to see. Okay, so that didn't work. That's fine. But I was able to create it. So now, last step here. Let's see if it can knock out the feed to show just whatever creators are in the database. So we want the feed to show whatever's in the database. I should be able to click it and see the see this stuff here. Basically, I should be able to see this page. It should show my picture, my name, the description, and those 3 tiers. And I should be able to click one and then create a delegation. Right? That's the last step, and we'll have our usable application. All right, here we go. So I don't want to do that right now. Let's cancel that task. All right. Okay, so the creation flow looks good. Next, let's implement the feed view. That looks like this. Copy file path. when I click a tier, for the creator, it should trigger a MetaMask 7715 permission, MetaMask 77 permission request for, let's just keep it simple and say for USDC. For USDC, what do we want to say? Weekly? We'll say monthly. For USDC, for a monthly allowance to transfer that amount from the user's MetaMask account to the creator's MetaMask account. What else? After the user signs the delegation, store the delegation in the database. Also, you will need to update the creator profile creation step so that the creator can tell you where to send their funds to. What else? So we forgot that, right? When the creator is creating the profile, it wasn't doing that automatically. I don't think it was capturing their address that they connected, but it could have. I don't think it was, though. So the creator needs to be able to tell it, look, my wallet address is this, so that when the user, when subscribers come in to subscribe to a tier, it'll know on the back end, the delegation needs to let me transfer to this account. All right, let's try it. Chug away, Replit. We are definitely not optimizing our prompts here. This is super early in the morning, and this is definitely vibes-based coding right now.
I think while you're building this, you can, like, one of the cool thing that happened in like crypto was like the Gitcoin donations, right? Like back in 2018, 2019, how people used to donate the open source projects and help them build. One thing like that was manual was like going and verifying whether the projects have actually done something, what they're doing, and kind of thing. What if you have an agent, you give like monthly subscription to an agent that you have $20 or something like that. You give your agent that I'm interested in the DSAC tracks or like more on like privacy side, and then it finds the projects on the Gitcoin donations that are on privacy or particular thing, and it actually verifies the projects as well whether they have actually done the work or not. Check the previous grants session, like what they have done on the previous grants given and what are the percentage completed, and accordingly like kind of give like monthly donation autonomously to the different projects that are of your choice. Can be also a good submission for the hackathon.
Absolutely. Okay, so it's saying I have everything I need. This is a meaty feature set. Okay, what is it saying? I'm building. So it's going to build a table, creator name profiles with payment wallet plus the 3 tiers, API routes. So it's going to have a get vaults, right? So the get vaults is going to return, the different creators. And then it's going to have a vaults username, so I can look at the details for a specific creator. That makes sense. We're updating the launch vault modal to add payment wallet. There's a feed page. This is going to be a browsable grid. That makes sense. EIP 77 permit. Here we go. So like request subscription permission and use wallet. Full subscribe flow. Select here. MetaMask dialog, store, delegation. Okay, so it looks like it's on the right track. And this is pretty much, for people watching, we've done hackathons ourselves in the past. It was kind of how we were bootstrapping a lot of this, was just entering into hackathons, trying to win them, pay for cloud bills. This is pretty much what it's like, pounding out a hackathon entry, is just sit here, prompt it out, see what it does, and iterate over and over again. But I guarantee we could have gotten this in one prompt if we would have really just sat and thought about the initial prompt and planned it out as like an MD file. We probably could have gotten it in one prompt. We just didn't do that.
You can start with the plan mode and like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But-
I think we underspecified. We were relying too much on the images up front. That's probably what confused it. So that's hot tip again for your vibe coding. Having Stitch, having the images and the flow up front saves it a bunch of time, saves you a bunch of tokens, but you still have to actually tell it what you're actually trying to do. And some of those finer points, like you need to capture and store the person's address, their destination address for this when they sign up. Which is, maybe that's not the finest point in the world, but that definitely would not be necessarily immediately obvious to an agent.
Also, you can use like a good model for planning mode if you're using cursor, and then use a cheaper model to execute it and save some tokens if you want.
Yep. Planning mode is great. Will definitely save you some tokens. I actually, I think I use them. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, Ayush, but I use it in the wrong way. I'll use the expensive model on the plan. Because it doesn't take that many tokens. I'll do a really expensive one and tell it, hey, get all the points out. And then you use the cheaper model to just say, implement the plan.
That's what I was saying. Like you save that tokens because once you have everything in the planning mode, it has a good like all in the MD file what needs to be done. Also, sometimes it adds the examples of code snippets of which SDKs to use and how the flow should be. So cheaper models are pretty good for the implementation part.
Yep. Yeah, that's all my code bases now. It's all just really trying to set it up with Agents MD to be plug and chug, where the model really can't screw anything up. It's got so many examples and so many patterns. They're very good at follow the pattern. So things like boilerplate. Even if my code requires a lot of boilerplate, the model doesn't care. But if the boilerplate helps the model keep everything straight, personally, I'll take that trade-off every day.
Nice. Francesco, how is your agent doing with the Hermes? Do you have a planner and executor a different sub-agent, or is it the...
Yeah, there is a recategorization. So there is the orchestrator, there is triaging the type of task, right? So I think, yeah, but yeah, you still need to optimize because like the wish scenario will be that there is a full triage. There is a mix of like both local LLM usage versus full online, right? And the type of like task is also like triaging the type of LLM because I need to optimize on token spend because yeah, it starts to get quite out of control. Yeah, I think OpenClaw. Yeah, I think OpenClaw might be doing it a bit like easier in terms of triaging. The only thing is that is I don't know. I have still problems a lot with on the gateway restart and shared memory. like yeah, because doing sub agents, if you don't have some local memory. So I'm testing this stuff with Obsidian as kind of like a second brain. The thing is that using Obsidian for like team specific agents, it's also hard unless you're just using Obsidian Sync or something like that.
Yeah. So while this is thinking, a couple of things to throw out there for people. One, check this out. First, Replit tells me here, like, hey, your SEO sucks. Okay, so first of all, don't ignore SEO for applications. And if you're not familiar with it, Google Lighthouse is an oldie but a goodie. Test a site, put your site in here, like for instance, oneshotapi.com. This will basically tell you what you need to fix. So Google Lighthouse, jot that one down. And then also there's a new, basically it's like Google Lighthouse, but for agents that Cloudflare pumped out recently. And I brought it up earlier in the call. It's called Is It Agent Ready? Ready.com. And this is going to check for like, can agents discover and use your product? So here's my traditional SEO. So it says for One Shot, the One Shot site, your SEO stuff is 100%, best practices 100%, accessibility 95, performance. Saying my performance isn't great, but the performance doesn't necessarily affect your SEO directly. But it'll tell you here what you need to fix. And you can basically take this stuff and plop it into your context window and have it fix it. Over here on Is It Agent Ready? It gives you different stuff. So like if I put in oneshotapi.com and have it look at that, it's going to, this is looking at different stuff. So it's going to analyze your robots.txt. Like, is that friendly for agents and AI crawlers? That's going to be super important. Your sitemap. So can the AI crawlers figure out where the important info is on your site? So that's your sitemap. Link headers, which is not really important for traditional SEO, but link headers are super important for agents, for finding the appropriate things on your site from the main page. And then another one that's really important for agents. If you're building a site and you want it to be friendly for agents, you should be able to serve the site as Markdown. So like something that I would legitimately do for Subscribe-alicious for like the next phase of this, and we're totally not going to do it on this call, is Subscribe-alicious should be consumable. The pages should be consumable in Markdown, so that if an agent is looking at this, it can see all the info from creators and whatever in Markdown form. So that's a totally different paradigm from traditional websites, is being able to consume it not in HTML but in Markdown. And then it has things in here. Do you have the right rules for your bots, robots.txt? Do you have the right signals in it? And if you don't have it right, it gives you the prompt to give to your coding agent to do it right. And then things like, okay, well, if your product has an API, can I find open API specs or JSON RPC specs so I can learn how to read it? If it requires authentication, does it tell the agent how to auth against it? If there's an MCP server, are you serving an MCP server card? All these things are built into this tool. And again, it's 100% free. We ran it on oneshotapi.com, did all the suggestions. We're at 100%. So those two tools, Lighthouse, number one, isitagentready.com, number two, can make you much more discoverable on the internet. Okay, so what does it say here? It finished that task, and it's gave me some suggestions for the next. I'm going to go ahead and publish this so we can see what happened. Let's republish it. And it's going to update our database, approve and publish. So let that publish. And the other suggested tasks are warn subscribers when their delegation is approaching its spending limit. Good suggestion. Not going to do that right now. Reject subscriptions with no delegation up front instead of failing silently. That's probably a good idea as well. Cache relayer capabilities. Great suggestion that it came up with that. Probably got that from the skill. But here what it's saying is these capabilities from the documentation over here, getting the supported tokens, number 1, and the fee data, number 2. That's probably what it's talking about. So those are good suggestions. We're gonna skip those for right now, though. All right, so it's bundling. Then we'll be able to try it out in about a minute.
We went from like how you can vibe code and how you can do the SEO and make it agent ready for production.
Okay, here we go. So it redeployed. Let's refresh this page. So here's our feed. Here's our feed, and it's got some dummy artists in it. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna come back to the main page. Let's connect my wallet. Let's make a new vault. Let's recreate our. Let's create our profile again. Todd, about your work, making 7710 agents. And for our address, let's put my address in there. Let's copy this guy, paste it, continue. Let's make these smaller numbers, 2 and 3. Let's hit continue. There's my payment wallet. And let's launch the vault. Okay. So let's go to feed. So there's me right here. So now I'm viewing this as a subscriber. And look, it's got from $1 a month. There's the 3 different tiers. So let's click on this. This looks actually not too bad. It's got this weird gradient thing going on, which is annoying, but it's not important right now. Let's see what happens if we try to subscribe for $1 a month. So let's click this.
Oops.
All right, so this is obviously not working right. So we got to tell it. Okay, so the subscriber flow looks good. So here's where you gotta like finesse the prompt.
From vibe code to specific thing.
Yeah. For the USDC.
Also a skill.
Another thing that's challenging with some of these tools, even if it's Cursor or Claude Code, they have these built-in browser viewers, which is great, except when you're trying, when you need to use a browser extension. The browser extension is typically not accessible within the embedded browser in the coding tool, which makes debugging some of these things tricky. Although it seems to work here. So we're good on Replit. So on Replit, if you use the built-in browser, you can't actually access MetaMask. So that's good. So when we test this after it finishes, we don't have to publish before we can try it again. Here we go.
Sometimes even mobile, like mobile view for this kind of like pre-screening is not the best, right? But it's a good preview.
So it found the issue. The skill uses blah on the VM wallet.
The method is also, the raw method is wrong, I guess, because it's changed to request execution permissions. The wallet grant permissions is the older one spec.
Yeah, we might need to update our skill. Potentially, maybe our skill. I have gotten this to work though. This guy right here, I actually vibe coded with our skill. So you can say like, I want to use whatever, Sepolia, right? And let's not do Sepolia. Let's do base. Let's do base, USDC, destination address, just some other address. Right. So this we actually did with the skill. I did not code this by hand at all. Anyway, for listeners, I think we're actually getting pretty close. As soon as we've got the delegation stored, we're pretty much done with this.
Can you ask it not use delegation toolkit, because the delegation toolkit won't be compatible with the new smart, like,
yeah, I don't know why I decided to use delegation toolkit. I did not have mentions of delegation toolkit in there.
It's in the skill file I pointed out in our group. So it's kind of now hallucinating on like.
Yeah, we might
be smart accounts kit.
We might be spiraling at this point. It is referencing delegation toolkit. All right, so that's a good call, Ayush. We actually did tell it use, so we don't want to use delegation toolkit. Well, it should just use entirely smart accounts kit.
Yes, because the delegation toolkit version uses the older 7715 spec, which is not compatible. So even if you try to request it, it won't work because the MetaMask does not accept the same the RPC method and like the parameters.
Okay, well we can do that, but it did finish the task. So rather than redeploying, let's just do it here. So it's got logs.
And I need to get some hydration here. It's too much. Long live stream this one. I'm feeling like we are like Shaw from Eliza streaming like 8 hours, putting like hardcore music.
Yeah, so we're getting to that point. We'll see what it does on this one, and if you want, we can go ahead and end the stream because we're getting long now, and we might be losing people at this point. I'll let you guys make the call.
We can check this prompt if it works, or
This
we can.
This is the realities of vibe coding with. This is the realities of vibe coding MVPs live.
I think it's good. Like people like viewing this or viewing or will be viewing after the live stream. They would know like it's not as it is as easy as it looks. Vibe coding as well. There is a lot of like debugging and understanding like what's going wrong, and to prompt that correctly to the agent. So it's always good to also like understand a little bit of basics of what you are trying to build.
Well, we pretty much got the app. So here, for people still listening, we basically got the app now. All we're debugging at this point is the construction of the delegation and then getting it to use the right package methods to communicate with the MetaMask browser extension. And basically, once we debug this one spot here, this one button, we've basically got the app. Then all the app has to do is run jobs once a month to process the transactions, and that's it. We've got our MVP.
It's also fixing the silently swallowing the errors. So instead of subscribe, it will I now at least like show you the error as well.
Okay, so it says it fixed it. Cross your fingers. We might switch to power mode. I think we were on weakling mode. Let's refresh the page. Let's go back to the feed.
I think it's erroring out.
Go to our console.
Maybe you can pass the llm.txt or smart accounts kit on how to request advanced permissions.
Do you have the URL for that for me, Ayush?
Yeah, I have shared in the chat.
I'll be sure to add that link to our skill. Let me just grab this link here.
That's the only issue I feel like is sometimes with having skill files and NCPs. Like it's sometimes tedious to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you forget like to put one thing when things have upgraded on the SDK side, kinds of like hallucinates a lot.
Yeah.
I think like one way to do is like either like force the skill file to a particular version, so it always uses that version and not the latest one. So
Mm-hmm.
it always works, kind of thing.
I definitely confused it though with our skill that was pointing it at the delegation framework package. So first thing I'm going to do after this is get our skill updated with the correct info from y'all's llms.txt file.
Yeah, one time I also saw that it's feeding also like older docs. I'm also need to clarify in the context, check out the latest version. I think that's also like a useful trick.
Tips and tricks on the
Yeah,
vibe coding.
that would be cool.
We should have a session on like a panel on vibe coding.
Yeah, what to do and what not to do, how to verify, how to maintain context. I think that would be super useful.
Hopefully this time it will work.
I have a good feeling.
At least the issue it is pointing out are real that we know. So
Okay. Worked for 3 minutes. Let's see what happened. Let's go back to the feed. There we go. All right, we got it.
let's go.
And now I don't have enough available on this account, but let's just go ahead and sign it. And it's doing it on, this one's doing it on base. We could have told it, if we want, we could go back and tell it, hey, look at whatever gas tokens are available from the relayer and provide those as options. We won't get to that in this, but that's an option there. Look, the frequency is set correctly to monthly, and it's got an expiration date. It was smart enough to set a reasonable expiration date. So basically, I'm giving it a year's worth of permissions to pull the $1 per month. And so when I grant it, there's my signature request. I hit confirm, and now I'm subscribed. And so if I republish this, let me just hit republish.
Anyone can try and
Now
subscribe.
anyone would be able to, yeah, now anybody would be able to try it. So if you're doing this for like a hackathon, this is great because your prototype is totally usable and hosted for you on either the URL that Replit gives you, or if you want to hook up a custom domain, it's all in there. But it took us 2 hours. We spent 30 minutes, rambling about other things, but in an hour and a half, really like in an hour and a half, we got an MVP of a Patreon, a stablecoin based Patreon up and running. I can connect my MetaMask wallet. I can launch a creator vault, fill in my tiers, add descriptions to the tiers, say where I want my funds sent. I can search through the creators, pick which tier I want to sign up for, and then store the delegation with the site. And then the site will process those payments automatically for me, pulling them out of my account. And where we would go from here would be the bells and whistles, right? Some sign in with Ethereum authentication, so I sign in and it knows if I'm a creator, so I can go and I can see my earnings. Sign in if I'm a subscriber, so I can see who I've subscribed to. Those would be the things that I would do next. But at this point, the meat is all here with an hour and a half of prompting. And we would have gotten it probably 30 minutes ago if we had been pointing our coding agent at the MetaMask skill that Ayush provided in the chat, because we wouldn't have gotten stuck using the older MetaMask delegation framework package. It would have used the correct package. So on our side, what we're going to do today is get our skill updated so it doesn't mislead your coding agent to use the old packages. And people using our skill, that'll probably help you out a lot. But we basically did it, right? Do those improvements that I talked about, run it through SEO, Google Lighthouse, use Is It Agent Ready to get it more usable by agents and discoverable by agents. But we basically got it all in an hour and a half. So, but at this point, we've been streaming for a while, and you guys probably have other things to do today or tonight, depending on where you are in the world.
That was super useful. I mean, how powerful is to do this under 2 hours, and the fact that you reproduce Patreon on Stable for streaming is really cool. And you leverage actually like Smart Account Kit, One Shot API. There is a lot of things involved that.
Yeah, we're using
upper the
Smart
level.
Account Kit, right? Which is a sophisticated library, permission delegation library. We're using the permissionless one-shot API relayer that's hooked up in there, but we didn't have to make an account for it, right? So it just hits the intent execution API. But we did all that in an hour and a half with the snafu of using the wrong old package for MetaMask. And we were doing it while people were watching us live streaming online with pressure to do it. So
yeah, definitely we saw the pressure here, and yeah, and it was amazing talk. Really congrats. I think it was really good. We have the recording. We'll shoot also some links later on. We have also some answer to the questions. So thanks everyone for asking question in the chat. Again, you have until 15th of June. This is a QR code for the hackathon itself that also you show at the beginning. And yeah, anything else that we want to add before we're closing up? Do you have, by the way, the repo? Did you share the repo that the people can try it out? Is it already deployed, right?
It's deployed. That site is at subscribemalicious.xyz. I'll publish it as a public Replit project. So if people want to clone it, to use it, they really want to do that, I'll publish it as a Replit. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Anything else, Ayush, before we're closing up? I mean, I'm excited about, I'm excited about this, how people also can spin up things. Please don't arrive the last, 48 hours trying to learn things from scratch, and use all the Telegram groups possible. Our doors are also open for any question. And use the Builder app, use the developer Telegram group, use the founder group. There is a bunch of also groups that you can use in the meantime.
Yeah, since like everyone has like a lot of time, it's not like there are only like 2 days left. Like we have like around like more than 10 days left. So I would insist on like also giving the skills, all the skills from One Shot API, from Smart Accounts Kit, from like Venice AI, give to your agent and also do the brainstorming, right? Like what are like the things that you can build, uh, and not just like go and say like your agent, okay, build something that is satisfying on the track side. Like
Yeah.
you can actually like brainstorm with the agent on what's a good thing. There are like so many things I want to build. Only if I had a time to like prompt my agents, but
Agree.
you can
Yeah,
pretty much build like let's say like there is a MS Paint kind of thing, and you can give a subscript like a streaming subscription, right? And everyone can like be in the same MS Paint kind of thing, and they can use the tool. So if you're using a painting tool, it will have 0.001 per dollar kind of rate, and it will be charging you per $10 for you like per second of using that tool to draw something on the board. So a kind of collaborative kind of thing where X-Photo APIs are used to like use the paintbrush or something like that. Like
that's a good
can build
point.
a lot of
Yeah.
things. So
I think
brainstorming
like
is
yeah,
also a
what
good
Todd
thing.
said, what Todd did at the beginning, all this planning mode, right? Even like I will go even deeper and doing some kind of research mode. Like think about that, this Dev Cook-Off is definitely like kind of like a ramping launch kind of like place where you can actually start building with support, but kind of like taking this to the next level. So also like, thinking about how you will distribute this, how you actually like, I like the lighthouse also like kind of sneak peek. I think also like thinking about those factors is something else that just like a 2025 hackathon submission, right? And see this as kind of like main journey for whatever you build. And I think again we encourage also like founder that already have a build product. If you want to actually like build on top and extend some of the functionality with either permission, delegation, there is a lot of like different things that you can do on top of things. So don't think that you need to start from scratch, right? Yeah, sounds good. I think we kind of said everything, and yeah, looking forward. You mentioned Ayush, they also we're coming back on Thursday with another like live stream, and yeah, we will actually like tell more. Check out socials, DM us if you have any kind of like issues during the hackathon, and yeah, looking forward for more chat.
Yeah,
Let's go.
it's great.
Awesome.
Thanks for the
Awesome
time today,
episode.
guys, and thanks for the tips on improving our skill, which we will do ASAP. It's great.
Perfect. This is what the live stream is about. Awesome.